Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. And Peter, this is a special moment. This podcast is our 1000th podcast, TG 1000. So I can't remember when we started. I think sometime June, July.
I think it was August of 2021.
No, I think 2020.
2020, right, yeah, during the lockdown, right.
During the lockdown. So this is 1000th episode, which is, it's a milestone. So I think you'll agree with me. I think we've had a lot of fun. We've done some, good, interesting podcasts. I think we really enjoyed the feedback that we've had when we moved to locals. And, here is to the next 1000.
This is water, everybody.
Yes, exactly. This is water. Look, Frank Sinatra used to, have this brown liquid, and you say, "This isn't tea." But
well, one of the reasons why we do this, because we don't have to do this, okay, and we're not getting rich off of it either, okay. That's kind of a snub, Come on, guys. But what's really important to do is that the way you form your ideas is to bounce them off other people. I have changed George's mind. George has changed my mind. Sometimes we just completely disagree, but that's the only way you can understand if your argument has any validity, okay? Because too many other people walk around with their head up, okay? Because they don't want to hear anything else. They don't want to hear anything different, all right? And it's really very important to be able to have a sounding board. Having said that, also, for a lot of people that, are addicted or slaves to legacy media, they listen to George and I, and they have no idea what we're talking about, which I believe. But see, even if I can use the term, in our camp, in George and I have very specific views particularly on foreign policy. We talk a lot about Russia. We talk a lot about Europe, NATO, ideology, critics of neoliberalism and globalism. But there's a lot of nuances in our side of the argument. A lot of people don't understand that. And that's really important to do that, because I'm not monolithic. George isn't monolithic, and neither one of us ever have notes in front of us. Sometimes we'll have a quote. George does a very good job of forensically going through an article. I think that's one of our value-added products that we do that. We're very, very meticulous. We look at language. We look at discourse, control of narratives. And that's the way you think. That's how you learn how to think.
Yeah. No, I think you summarized that very well. I think that we do, as we say in our intro, we challenge existing narratives. We bring kind of a fresh perspective, particularly on Russia and foreign policy, and we have something I think distinctive to say, something distinctive to contribute. And I think that's why we've been able, to do this now 2.5 years. That we've got 1,000 episodes, and I think it's something, as you say, we both learn through this, learn through discussion, learn through investigating some item in the news or some outrageous piece in responsible statecraft. So. I think that we're making I think a distinctive contribution, something that you do not find on all the kind of familiar outlet, not just on the mainstream media, but even in the kind of vaguely anti-war, anti-interventionist media. So I think we bring a fresh perspective on things.
And plus, we don't have any sacred cows, okay? When particularly because George and I have been laser focused, obviously, on the conflict in Ukraine, we have criticized Russian policy approaches. I don't feel I need to protect anyone. All right. And there are people, George and I are not Trumpers, though we did appreciate some of his policy approaches, like why do we need NATO?
Right.
Why doesn't America have, why doesn't America reindustrialize, and control its sovereignty? And, every country you can't have an immigration policy if you don't control your borders. I don't think any of these things are controversial, okay? But, if there's something that we like Tucker Carlson that George and I mention very, very often, there are times that we think he just wanders off the reservation, and I don't have any problem with saying I think that's wrong, okay? Yeah. So I think that's really important, is that we're not funded, by big sources, money. There are no big donors out there. George and I are not going to donor lunches, okay?
No, exactly right, and I think that's an important consideration, is that we do rely on the support of fellow Gagglers, and so we're very appreciative of subscribers. We'd love to have more subscribers. So to our Gagglers, if you recommend us to your friends, colleagues, relatives, every bit helps. So as I think you pointed out many times, we do this, several times a week. We make a number of these podcasts. I mean, there's a certain amount of work that's involved, and so we can only continue to do this if some money comes in. Not a huge amount, but some money.
Money is a form of feedback. Okay,
money is a form of feedback. So we're very grateful to all existing subscribers, and we hope very much to win over new subscribers.
Well, when George told me, this is our third podcast today, and when George told me before we started the first one, this was our 1000th episode, I was shocked. Okay, because when you're having a good time, when you're learning, you don't think about those things. You don't think about the number of hours, the number of episodes, or anything like that. Because for me, one of the things that's really important as you get older is that you can never accept that you should stop learning. I mean, learning is a wonderful experience. It keeps things working up there really well. Exactly. And that's what I keep doing, being challenged all the time. Over the last 10 months, George and I have been sorely disappointed with people that we really admired a lot, okay? And it's been really hard for us, okay, to say, this person, Pat Buchanan, let's just say it, okay? Somebody that I really looked forward to his columns, and like, wow, he says, he lost the script, okay? And that's why it's important what George and I do, because we have to point out that there are different lineages here going here, people reacting in a very different way. And I'll say it, being really disappointed when smart people say dumb things.
Yeah, that's right. And so and we've done quite a lot of that people that we don't just give a blank check. Oh, he's basically on our side, so he's a great guy, let's endorse him. We don't do that. So like John Mearsheimer, yes, he's done some good work, but when he says something that I think is weak and ineffectual and self-defeating, we pointed this out, and we've done a number of these podcasts on Walt and Mearsheimer, and pointed out that people like that should know better and should not really be essentially giving credence to ideas that are really absurd. And so we try to be critical of everybody, the obvious targets, all the neocons, but we're also critical of people ostensibly on our side, but who basically come up short.
Yep. And war is the issue that I think people really show their true colors. Okay.
Right.
And unfortunately, we can see in media who's being who's paying the piper, as it were. Okay. And that's really sad, because war is the worst possible thing to happen to the human condition. And seeing a lot of people sell out or sell themselves out short and things like that, that's really, really painful, because George and I actually live in the neighborhood of that conflict. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. George, he sees refugees. I see refugees also. Okay. It's really it's heartbreaking, okay?
Yeah.
And when particularly when it's being sold for the most ridiculous, asinine reasons, okay? And that's what's really painful, and we'll never stop pointing that out, okay?
I think so. And I think when the history of this war is written, I suspect that the gaggle will play a role in that. As is, you know, historians will use that as a source, kind of a reference.
All right, I'm not going to mention the name because George already discussed it privately, but there is a major media figure that we both like. This is like a guess, you know. And George and I talk about a lot of topics, okay? And one of the advantages we have that others don't is that George and I actually talk about things that we lived through, okay, in recent history. And so this major media figure came out with a very interesting monologue. And the first thing I said to George, you know, George, we talked about that a few weeks ago, okay? Almost framed exactly in the same way. So it was, you know, there are coincidences, but very rarely. Okay. Right. What I'm just saying is that, you know, I think we're having an impact, but I don't think we're always getting the credit for it. I'm just saying.
No, I don't think so. I think so. But you know, the great thing is with conversation and with modern technology is that, you know, here the recordings now exist. You know, they're on the internet, they're on YouTube. Of course, you know, we never know what happens with YouTube, but they're on locals. I think that's pretty safe. And I think they, you know, they're part of the historical record. I mean, I think that they will be used by future historians to try to understand what the hell happened during the past 2 years, because I think they're going to be quite puzzled.
Well, and plus, George is absolutely right. It's part of the historical record, and people are going to be able to point out and say, Peter, you and George, you were wrong on this. But we'll be able to return and say, but we were right about this and that. Okay, so it'll be an interesting thing, very interesting.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, everybody.
Thank you, Peter. You know, so thank you, and you know, looking forward to the next 1,000.
Next 1,000.